see here. So welcome everyone. My name is Diane Silverman. I'm the Executive Director of the Quorum Initiative, and we are delighted to have our Quorum Speaker Series session today on how to build your personal brand on LinkedIn. Thank you very much. We're getting to highlight two of our extraordinary Quorum members in this session, Julie Livingston and Patricia Roberts. Julie is president of Want Leverage Communications, an entrepreneurial PR and LinkedIn marketing consultancy. She specializes in turning under-the-radar executives and businesses into authoritative industry leaders and elevating leadership visibility on LinkedIn. Her thought leadership has been featured on Morning Brew and in PR News and other industry publications. And you'll be learning more about her and the amazing work that she does during the session. Also, Patricia Roberts, a longtime member of Quorum, is the Chief Operating Officer at Gift of College. Patricia is a media spokesperson and keynote speaker who's been featured on news outlets, including CNBC, Good Morning America, U.S. News and World Report, and USA Today. As I mentioned earlier, Patricia is the author of Route 529, A Parent's Guide to Saving for College and Career Training with 529 Plans. Without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Julie and Patricia, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you so much for Diane for that lovely introduction. And it's great to see so many familiar faces today. I really appreciate both Patricia and I appreciate that you've made the time in your day to join us for this important kind of a learning session and a conversation about building your personal brand on LinkedIn, the world's most important business networking platform. I'm a publicist. I've been doing public relations for more than 30 years. And my specialty is in working with senior leaders and helping them to promote their thought leadership, because that is the way that they can really create visibility for their company, for their brand, and for their competitive advantage. And more recently, I've been working on LinkedIn specifically because it's become such an important marketing and public relations platform. We're going to talk, Patricia and I are going to talk a little bit about how we've used the LinkedIn platform to raise our visibility and the benefits that has had for us. And we're going to go through our LinkedIn profiles as well. So hopefully there's going to be a lot of tips and actionable takeaways for you after this session. So I know Diane is recording this, but feel free to take notes and ask your questions in the chat or during the Q&A portion at the end of the session. So I'm also going to share some slides during this, although this is not going to be a slide presentation. But Patricia, maybe you and I could start by talking about what is a personal brand?
Absolutely. And I want to thank Diane for that kind introduction. And Julie, thank you for considering me for this topic and conversation today. In terms of what is a personal brand, from my perspective, I really think it's the impression that others in the world have of you and what you represent. I think your personal brand is what makes you unique, what sets you apart from others. I think it probably encompasses some of your experiences and expertise, but truly it's in the eyes of others is the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, a personal brand are really those things that make you uniquely you, who you are. And I think, Patricia, tell me if I'm wrong, but from what I can see, what I've observed about your personal brand, and you've done such a marvelous job at clearly presenting who you are as a person, is the three things about you that I've noticed about your personal brand are trust, knowledge, and knowledge is power, right? And authenticity. Did I miss anything?
I don't know that you did. I appreciate your sharing that with me. I asked a few people last night, knowing I was going to do this today, what they would say. certainly along the lines of what you said, but I got a lot of C words. I got competent, compassionate,
I love it.
caring, consistent, collaborative, clear, and caring, if I didn't say it, which I thought was interesting because that really is part of who I am. And it was interesting to get somewhat consistent feedback from others.
That's really cool. And I mean, it's so affirming, right? When people are telling you that what you're putting out there on LinkedIn and really everywhere that you are, because you're somebody who's extremely consistent about how you present yourself as an executive. And so your personal brand values are those things that you really can't, they just make you who you are, right? They're those basic things about you that are sort of non-negotiable. For me, I'm going to say that my personal brand values are trust, ingenuity, authenticity, and collaboration. And so when the importance of having, being able to articulate your personal brand values, that really allows you to use LinkedIn as a marketing and public relations platform. Once you're clear on your personal brand values, you can develop what we call content pillars or content categories. And these are the content categories that kind of anchor who you are. And so these are content pillars are like 3 to 5 topics that you consistently write about. So you're really being when you're very intentional about your content on the platform, people get a real sense of you. And that leads to other opportunities, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So Patricia, if we were to talk about your content pillars, the things that you consistently speak about when you're posting content, when you're commenting on other people's posts, etc., would you tell me if you want to add to this list? Parental advice. So advice to parents on saving for college and avoiding lots of debt as a result of tuition costs. Employer guidance, because one of your key expertise is actually in helping employers reduce employee stress associated with the high cost of higher education. By offering education-related financial wellness benefits, including 529 plans, etc. And then your personal stories. I mean, those I think you do so phenomenally well. I mean, they just, first of all, there's such a hook, right? They just draw the reader in. And the personal stories of you and of your son, who recently, not too long ago, graduated from Clark University, where my older son went to, as a matter of fact, are just, these are connectors. What other topics am I missing, Patricia, that you generally post about? Those content pillars that you've become known for?
Yeah, definitely the ones you mentioned, financial empowerment, financial freedom, education without debt, as you said. I'm also posting from time to time about disability issues, disability.
Oh, right.
Yeah, particularly since Section 529 was expanded a number of years ago to allow parents of children with disabilities to save for their futures, no matter what those futures hold, whether they hold education or a need for something else. These parents wanted to save tax-free. So I talk about disability from time to time, and I have a brother who is developmentally disabled. So I have a close tie to disability, the cost of it, the stress around it, and the need for some financial independence for persons with disabilities. What else
So
do I talk about?
You can really, it ties so well into your personal brand values, right?
Very true, very true. And I also talk from time to time, and Julie, I'm sure you, Diane, and others who see me see it. I support others on LinkedIn and their causes and things they care about. And that, I feel, is part of one of my pillars too. I don't hesitate in promoting others and what they're all about, their personal brands.
Yeah, I want to talk about how you do that in a minute. So, why is LinkedIn so important? I mentioned earlier that it's the world's most important business networking platform. If you need some reasons why I say that, it's because there are almost 900 million users in 200 countries now on LinkedIn, and 199 million in the US alone. So it's pretty significant. There are 61 million companies listed on LinkedIn, but it's no longer just kind of a resume or a job search tool. Sure, it's still used for that and used for career advancement. And so for women, it's particularly important. Women who really want to advance up the corporate ladder have to have an active and exciting and interesting and clear presence on LinkedIn. So the average visit to LinkedIn, the average stay on LinkedIn is about 7 minutes, which is kind of interesting because that's kind of a long time. And then I just want to share this. Second, just want to share my screen for a minute. Can you see that?
No, not yet.
No, I can't. I
I
don't know
did
why.
make you a co-host, so you should be able to share your screen.
Share screen. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. So here are a number of reasons why LinkedIn has just become the pivotal marketing tool for women and for everybody, really. But because we are a women's organization and we often talk about creating new pathways and direct pathways for women to climb the corporate ladder, I do want to point these out and be very specific. So, of course, it's great for career mobility to connect with future employers, expand your network of people who you know and who you want to know, because it's wonderful for making new business connections, especially with people with whom you already have a second-degree contact. It's great for standing out within your industry sector. Patricia has become very well known for her expertise in 529 plans and the financial responsibility of paying for college. And because of the way she presents herself on LinkedIn, she's become a go-to expert on these topics. So it really allows you to demonstrate your leadership ability, and not only for your internal teams and your peers, but also external partners, your board of directors, and potential employers who you might want to work for. They want to know that they're hiring somebody who has that leadership ability. So they're going to look at what you talk about and how you present yourself on the platform. As I said, it's wonderful for promoting your thought leadership and your opinions on issues that matter to people within your industry, to promote your business. If you're an entrepreneur like me, this is your platform. And in fact, I started getting active on LinkedIn because I was hunting for new business a number of years ago. And because people started noticing my content about thought leadership and about LinkedIn and about media placement and, promoting executive visibility, they started asking me if I could write their LinkedIn content. Honestly, I never even thought about that as a business, as a business umbrella for myself, but it happened kind of organically. And it's a way for you to promote your personal brand values. And if you're doing it right, to really give people an inside view on who you are as a human being. So it's there to help you build that credibility and trust. Again, Patricia has done this just brilliantly, because I don't know, when you look at one of Patricia's posts, you feel like you know her. You may have never met her in person, but it has such an authentic tone, and the language she uses, it just sounds like you're talking to her. So, I mean, that's one of these are many of the reasons why you should leverage the PR and marketing value of LinkedIn.
Julie, I just wanted to say, and thank you for that feedback on my post. That makes me feel good to know that you feel you know me. You do know me, but those others who don't may
Doesn't
have.
matter. Even if I didn't know you, I'd feel like I did.
Absolutely. But I think it's so important for us in order to advance our missions or our objectives to be seen, to be recognized, to be noticed, trusted, understood. Like, I think so often, and often as women, we hesitate to get ourselves out there. But by not getting us out there, by not using such a phenomenal tool like LinkedIn, we're really limiting our reach, and we're keeping from those who need us most information or services that they may need. So I think it's really important to think of it as something that you absolutely owe to yourself and owe in the service of others to do.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I was at an event recently, and I always had business cards, the old-fashioned business cards in my pocket, but people weren't using them. They were actually taking out their phones, and there is a QR code feature on LinkedIn, but even if you didn't use that, you could just look up somebody's name and instantly connect with them, and they were using that. So it's a way of putting yourself out there. I talk to a lot of women who say, oh, yeah, I have my profile, but it's just up there. It's more like my resume. But you're, as Patricia said, you're doing yourself a disservice by not making it more, by not really leveraging it to show a bit about your personality and your achievements and what makes you a phenomenal leader, and somebody with a specific talent.
I think that's right. And when I do connect with people in person, and just like you, Julie, I'm seeing that all the time. LinkedIn is the way to go. I always, when I send the invite, I always make reference to the context in which we met. I find that extremely helpful to refresh my own memory and to sort of just start a conversation trail and maybe comment on something that we observed together at the event. So I think it's wonderful to connect. I think it's also good to connect with a context that you can follow up on.
Connect and, right? Like, yes. not just connecting to add, just to have another follower in your basket, but to really develop a relationship. You can start communicating in different ways, tagging people, commenting on their posts. And LinkedIn actually gives you points for that. Their algorithm does give you points for commenting on other people's posts and sharing other people's content. So that's a really good thing to do. I thought we would look at some content that Patricia has shared recently, just to get an idea of what this looks like. What does it look like when you're really promoting yourself effectively on the platform? And it's being sincere, and she does it in a sincere, authentic, honest kind of fashion. And here she talks about something humorous that she did. You want to tell us about it, Patricia? I love this.
Sure. So I'm in a mastermind with individuals following all kinds of passions and career paths. And there's this woman named Megan, who I'm featuring here, who developed a game show, a first of its kind virtual game show, which combines neuroscience and phonology, as she talks about it, to promote mental health and wellness. And she asked me, I think the picture's cut off, you can't see me at the bottom, but I am in the audience of this game show. And she asked me to be of support in this pilot of the show. So I shared this because I wanted others to know what Megan had done. I experienced the game show myself and thought it was phenomenal. And in doing so, I mean, I certainly thought it gave people a glimpse into what I'm up to in my spare time. But, Megan has gotten back to me to say that she's gotten one or more business prospects as a result of my sharing this, which I never anticipated that would be the outcome, but she's so appreciative. And then I noticed the other day she shared something of mine that I had promoted. So wow. I think
so you developed this whole rapport.
Yeah. And I never asked her to share anything of mine. She never asked me to share this, but it was something I thought worth communicating with others. And I'm very happy it's led to some potential business for her.
So in other words, instead of just staying kind of in your own corner, kind of under the radar, here you put yourself out there, and you have fun at the same time, right? You don't have to be totally serious all the time, and it shows a bit about your personality, right? How you don't take yourself too seriously, and how you're supportive of other people, how collaborative you are. This is just a wonderful way to do it.
Yeah, and this got a lot of engagement, which I was very surprised, but it really did. It's interesting. I mean, you could post something and think it's going to be of great interest. This
People
will
love seeing, I think people, in my experience, and I've had this with clients, people love seeing the human side of leaders who they see on LinkedIn. One of my best posts ever was, I actually was hunted down on LinkedIn by a Morning Brew reporter, Dan Toomey, who does if you know Morning Brew, it's a newsletter, an e-newsletter that goes out. They have a very big audience, and he does a comical series for them called Good Work. And he found me because he was looking for a LinkedIn expert. He did a search on LinkedIn and found me. And I guess he liked my content and how I presented myself. And he invited me to do a video with him. It's hilarious. I'm not going to show it to you here, but it's really funny. And it's all about poking fun at LinkedIn. And I think that the fact that I was able to play along with him supported my credibility. It definitely was a little risky doing it. I have to say, my husband and one of my sons was like, don't do it. You don't know how it's going to turn out. And I thought, no, I'm going to jump in. And it turned out fantastic. So I think being humorous and being support, and of course, I've shared that post, that video many times. And the first time I shared it, I think it had more than 50,000 views. I mean, it was crazy. So people really like that, to see that inside your personality.
Yeah. And I saw that video that you shared. I thought it was excellent.
I really had fun.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another one. I want to talk about the best ways to create content on LinkedIn. You really need to be intentional about your content. And as we said, the first place to start is by identifying your personal brand values. There's 3 things that tell the world who you are as an individual. And then your 3 to 5 content pillars, those themes that you're going to consistently write about. And you're not going to veer from that. You're going to try not to anyway, because that repetition, the repetition of those topic areas are what will drive home what your expertise is and what you're about. And so repetition is really important on the platform, as it is on any social media platform. So being intentional, once you have your content pillars, you should try to come up with an editorial calendar. Typically, if you want to develop your presence on LinkedIn, try not to be overwhelmed about it. A lot of women I talk to think, oh my God, I don't have the time, this and that. Start with 1 post a week, okay? And build up to 3 if you can on consecutive days. If you're only posting 1 day a week, make that a Wednesday. Wednesday morning is like the golden day for LinkedIn, and has the most traffic. I have been experimenting with Mondays though, because I've been hearing from one of my strategic partners that Mondays can actually be a good day to get people's attention as they go back to work after the weekend and so on. Some people do post on Sunday evening. So you have to kind of find your own special cadence. But if you plan out, if you just get like a blank calendar and kind of plan out, go to your content pillars and plan out the topics and the subtopics that you want to talk about over the course of a month, it really helps you to kind of see, just like you were if you were developing a strategic plan. It helps you to see the topics that to make sure that they correlate back to your content pillars and personal brand values.
So Julie, this was an article that I wrote. I assume.
Oh, yes. Talk about the articles, Patricia.
Yeah. So some of our attendees today may or may not know that you can produce content on LinkedIn that goes beyond a simple post. So you can write articles, and I do. This was really an opinion piece that I wrote. There was a billionaire who offered to repay a commencement audience's student loan debt a few years back. And while I thought that was extremely generous of that individual and lucky for that particular class, I wanted to be sure to write something that really helped people to not count on such a wonderful turn of fate, but rather to take some personal responsibility and start earlier. And what I talked about was, well, a billionaire at a college commencement ceremony offering to repay debt is lovely. I think a different type of commencement speaker at a much earlier graduation could be even more impactful. And what I was suggesting here is that moms like me who have saved for their own children's future perhaps even briefly address a preschool graduation ceremony or a kindergarten graduation ceremony to plant the seeds about saving ahead. So don't wait until college and hope that someone's going to pay off your debt. Rather, learn what you need to know early and take action on it yourself with the help of others. So that's what I wrote about here. And this got a lot of traction. And I'm very happy I wrote it.
You know, I have to say, I really think that you're masterful at taking a topic, taking a content pillar, and turning it inside out, and really exploring every aspect of it. Many of those angles are ones that I bet people haven't thought about. And that was really inventive, to take the topic of student debt and starting to plant and planting the seed for parents to start thinking about it when their kid is in preschool.
Right. That's the perfect graduation ceremony to be thinking about it. Right.
I love it. And how many, and it's just, you know, it brings me back to when one of my older son, Jacob, was in preschool. And I remember one of the parents actually made the kids graduation caps. Wouldn't that be the perfect tie into this theme?
Yes.
Just something to think about.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me go to the next. I want to share also about amplifying content and the importance of tagging other people. Just hold on, sorry.
Julie, I can talk about the piece I think you're going to show if that would be helpful.
Can you? I'm sorry. I'm having a little, having a little technical difficulty.
That's okay. So I attended a consortium recently hosted by TIAA CREF in Manhattan of individuals like myself who have worked on philanthropic programs around education. So we all came together. I had pictures of all of us coming together and talking about ways. For instance, I helped design and launch a program in New York City whereby every public school kindergartner is now getting seed money for college, thanks to the generosity of John and Mindy Gray. John Gray is the president of Blackstone. So my expertise comes from having designed and launched that program and others. Others came at it from a different perspective. California has now just launched a program. Maine has a wonderful Harold Alfond program whereby every child gets $500 there at birth. So we came together to talk about really where we can next go with these programs and how we can support each other. I took plenty of pictures of the attendees, both those in the room and those on video. And I decided to tag them in my post. I am not one for tagging people. I think random tagging of others to try to get attention for your post doesn't sit well with me.
But this wasn't random, right?
This was nothing random about it. I don't randomly tag people at all, but I did hear tag every attendee. And this really got a lot of interaction and a lot of appreciation for the attendees who were there to sort of reflect on the day we had together. For others who are interested, there are states and cities that are interested in developing programs like this. I've received some outreach as a result of it. So I think the tagging can really, when appropriate, Julie, you probably have more opinions than I do on this, can really broaden your reach and really be very satisfying to the persons you tagged.
It's a relationship building tool, you know. So just so you know, you can tag up to 40 people in a post. I'm not saying you should do that every time, but here it's appropriate because Patricia was at an event where there were all these people, and it was a really nice acknowledgement, I think. So this helps to amplify her message when these other people are seeing it. And if she's not a first connection of them, hopefully she's also going to be following up with a connection invite. Additionally, I want to point out the hashtags here. You should use hashtags. You can use up to 5 in every LinkedIn post. And it's a good idea to look for hashtags that have more than 10,000 followers. The problem is that LinkedIn currently has a bug in their hashtag search tool, so it's a little difficult to find. However, for those of you who are on this call, I have a list that I've created about women and women's leadership that I'm happy to share. I'll share the hashtags with you, the ones that we use for Quorum, so that you could perhaps use some of those in your posts. And I have the number of followers each one of them has. Now, some of them, like Professional Women, for example, I think has 17 million followers. Wow, like that's a lot. So you might want to use that with more of a niche kind of hashtag like Women Leaders, which has about 12,000, and kind of mix it up. So you, again, use 3 to 5 hashtags per post. We talked about adding a human touch. This is this crazy video reporter on Morning Brew who interviewed me about using LinkedIn as a thought leadership platform. I had a blast with him. And so I tagged him and a few other people who were on the broadcast with me. And again, this got tremendous readership. I got so many likes on this and shares, and it was just very engaging kind of a post because people like seeing me in action and being silly. I thought we'd go through the LinkedIn profile because I know that many women get overwhelmed thinking, oh my God, how am I don't have the time to look at my profile. What are the basic things I need to do to kind of make it sing a little bit more? Well, here are 4 things that 5 things. Sorry, I think I took one out. Oh, I know, I did take one out because they took it away. There's no more video feature in the profile, so I have to change that number. But one of the things I really like on LinkedIn, and Patricia, you do this really well. In fact, maybe I could bring up your profile quickly because it is the background photo that I really like how you use. Hold on, I'm just going to share this. So the background, you have your headshot, and always have a professional headshot of you smiling. You know, again, you want your personality to come through where you're making eye contact, wearing something very attractive. You know what, ladies, if you're going to have a new headshot taken, have your hair and makeup done. It'll make you feel like $1 million, and believe me, it's worth it. Go to a professional. And the background here and back of Patricia's headshot, this is really very important real estate. However, you wouldn't believe how many executives, how many female leaders I know who have nothing. Don't let that go to waste. Look how Patricia is telegraphing people that she is a media spokesperson on saving for college and 529 plans. In 1 second, you can tell what she's about, right? And she's included all the logos from some of the amazing media placements she's gotten. I mean, any producer who was looking, If I were a producer on the Today Show, for example, and I pulled up Patricia's profile and I saw all of this, bingo, I would know that I had an experienced spokesperson who was ready to be on my show. Because she's got an amazing experience here. Now, how do you create this background graphic? We have free tools like Canva. Many of you may not have used that. It's pretty easy to use. I'm not great with graphics, so I use a graphic designer I found on Upwork, upwork.com, which is a good resource, very affordable. And if you tell them what you want from Canva, because Canva has LinkedIn background, they have it all sized perfectly. All you have to do is customize it. And you can just add a few copy points about you, like maybe 5 words, and then show a picture of you in action. Here's Patricia giving a presentation or speaking at a conference. Again, it telegraphs people instantly about who you are. In the top of her profile here, she has used words so well that, again, instantly communicate what her expertise is in. Chief Operating Officer, published author and keynote speaker, financial educator and writer, go-to education and disability savings champion. And here, I love these little emojis at the end. It adds a little touch of humor. But again, very easy to understand what she's all about. If we scroll down, and actually, Patricia, one of the things that you can add up here is the talks about section. These are hashtags that you can add to 5 hashtags here that make you more searchable. And they go right underneath the city that you're in.
I think
I love that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm not in creator mode, so I'm learning from you.
Go into creator mode
together. Yeah.
I think you can switch. So if you switch on creator mode in LinkedIn, and it's free, it gives you some visual enhancements that I think are dynamite, and it just makes you more findable, more searchable. And you could play around with this, play around with the language. The wonderful thing about being a digital tool is you can always change it back, right? You can always experiment with it. So add that talks about section. Her about section here is really lengthy. I think you have up to 2,000 words here. But just remember, most people may not read all the way down, but that's okay. Repeat in a very subtle way what you want people to take away here. So in the first paragraph, it should be really, your whole story should kind of be in the first paragraph, because many people won't read beyond that. But if they do, then break it down, and the subsequent paragraphs elaborate on all of that. Here she has a paragraph on being a motivational speaker and author, something about what she did in her previous roles before Gift of College, a little bit about her as a person. So fill out that about section so it's really juicy, so you really are kind of drawing people in who they're going to want to know more about you. And here, I love the featured section. This is something that to me is akin to a theatrical marquee, right? Because you could feature your daily posts here. If you go into a post that you have on LinkedIn, there's a little drop-down menu. There are 3 little dots in the upper right. Click on that. It says feature your post on the top of your profile. It will go right in this area. I like to populate this with my clients' latest media placements, just like Patricia has done here. And look how colorful and exciting this is. And I change it up all the time. She's got tons of things here. This is like a little slideshow. And it just, again, it says so much about her as a leader and as a human. And
I'd like to interrupt. I wanted to say, I like to show me in action. So it's one thing for me to say I'm a motivational speaker. It's another thing. This particular post on the left, I can't tell you how many people have now gone on and shared it. I've gotten prospects for speaking engagements. I'm showing me speaking versus talking about me being a speaker. And I think that's extremely helpful. Same with the gift card post, which was a few over. My company has gift cards that can be deposited into any college
There you
savings
go.
account or used to pay down student loan debt. I'm in CVS. Wherever I go, I want to find my gift cards. There they are, and they're in a good placement there. Show a picture with the gift cards. That increased our sales after I did that. People can now visualize, oh, they hear you have a gift card. Oh no, now they're seeing you in CVS holding the gift card. So to the extent, and I think you probably advise your clients, anything you can do in like real time that is really you in action can really, have quite an impact on others.
I couldn't agree more. One of my clients, who's the CEO of a management consultancy, we took photos of her Kanban board, of all her Post-it notes. And people loved it. They were all handwritten, nothing fancy, but it gave you insight into her personality and her everyday goings on at work. Okay, and here in Patricia's, we're in her experience section. Now, this is where people can get a little caught up in having it look more like a resume. This is very short and sweet. I think you can elaborate a little bit more here, Patricia, because I think that you have so much to share in terms of how you've moved the needle for Gift of College. I mean, in terms of sales, partnerships, media exposure, and in fact, under each experience, under each job role, LinkedIn allows you to add a subsection for publications.
Wow.
So I'll show you how to do this offline, Patricia, if you like, but it's a wonderful way to repeat, and I like repetition on LinkedIn, repeat all of the amazing media placements that Patricia has garnered right under Gift of College. And then you can do that again. You can add another publication section down here. They have another section.
Sure, scroll down and see if you
Sure, let's see if it's
have
there.
it. Publication.
Yeah,
yes.
Now,
These are ones I have written versus ones I've been.
You can leave it as is, or you can add more. The unfortunate thing about the publication section, which stands alone, it's not under a particular role that she's had, is that it's not graphically exciting. However, and they do that for a reason, because LinkedIn wants you to stay on LinkedIn. They don't want you to go off and look at the article in the New York Times where so-and-so is quoted. However, I still like to repeat it down here, because depending on where somebody is scrolling, they will see that she's been published in all of these phenomenal places.
That's great.
And her thought, it's another way to amplify her thought leadership.
I just noticed in my certification or education section, I have included the fact that I am trained in Reiki. So yes, I am licensed to practice law in several states, but somewhere in there I put Reiki as well. And I've had people contact me about that and about my good energy in business meetings.
Phenomenal. Again, it shows more than just your work, right? It shows who you are. And one of your core values is caring for others. And I think that again, it just supports that about the Reiki. Notice that under organizations, Patricia has listed the Quorum initiative. So I encourage all of you to, if you haven't promoted your membership in Quorum, to please do that. And also to follow Quorum on LinkedIn, because we've been posting a lot of content that's valuable, and we really would love your support in commenting on it, which will boost your LinkedIn visibility, but also in amplifying how great this organization is. Diane, should we go to some of the questions?
Absolutely.
Just going to go to the chat. Gitanji says there are less than 1% of LinkedIn users that post content. Ah, that hurts me. But you know, that also shows what an opportunity there is to promote your thought leadership and what makes you you, and to help yourself to stand out, to really elevate your position as a leader, and as someone with a particular expertise and talent. Meg has a question for you, Patricia. When you were building your brand on LinkedIn, how much time do you spend on it every day? I know time management on LinkedIn is a big issue for people.
Yeah, I'm going to be really authentic here, and it's probably not what Julie's going to want to hear, but I have no rhyme or reason to this. I don't have a plan. I don't have a strategy. There's nothing contrived about it or thoughtful. I'm really just winging it. I work for a very small company. We have no public relations representation, no marketing support. I'm trying to share a lot of things as a thought leader that would be helpful, always leading with service, every now and again, something about my company. If I appear in a publication and I think it will be of interest, the topic to others, I'll share that. But it's quite random, Meg. I wish I had a better answer. And how much time, it just, you know, the greater amount of time is being spent on interviewing with the media, writing a piece myself, attending an event. That's really where the time's being spent. But quickly documenting it and sharing it in a somewhat thoughtful way is really, doesn't take much time at all. It really doesn't. It doesn't at all. I can't say I spend more than 5 or 10 minutes at any given time posting something on LinkedIn. I'm really not spending much time.
Now, you're fluent on the platform though, Patricia. I would say that for a newbie, for somebody who's starting out with maybe one post a week to just try to get into the rhythm of it, it might take a little bit more time. And certainly if you kind of if you have your content pillars mapped out, that will help you, right? Because it kind of makes the playing field a little smaller and more manageable. And if you have an editorial calendar, like if you know what topic you're going to post on every week, it helps you. And a great way to start is just by pulling up an article. You know, pull up an article that you think is would be of interest to other people that directly relates to one of your content pillars, and then write 3 sentences about it. That's it. And just add a couple of hashtags.
Yeah.
See what happens. Don't overthink. Don't overthink it.
And learn as you go. I mean, sometimes I'll post something, it gets no traction. I have now figured out, and maybe Julie, you can tell me if it's accurate, posting a link to an article, Town and Country. My gift cards just appeared as one of the best gift cards for the upcoming holiday season in Town and Country, a Hearst publication. Posting a link to that article didn't get me much traction. I think LinkedIn does not want you going off of LinkedIn to go click to something. So instead on Facebook, I try, and Facebook may have a different rule set, but I took a picture of my gift card or the banner on the article or something, and I put the article in the comments. I've gotten all kinds of traction. So I think you just need—
That's really interesting.
Trial and error. Yeah. And I have tried that on LinkedIn before. I mean, the danger is sometimes people won't go down to the comments to click on the actual article. But when I put the article in the comments, much more activity.
That's interesting. And I think, I think that's good advice. First of all, as women, we tend to overthink things. And I don't think you need to do that here. I really don't. Start with 1 post a week on a Wednesday, and, post in the morning between 8:30 and 10, and just start by picking an article or by sharing somebody else's post with a couple of lines with a comment and tagging them if you're sharing something, or if you're sharing an article, certainly tag the publication and the reporter, and that's it. Add a few hashtags and you're done. But then track it. I know for Quorum, we like to look at we kind of track, we keep the links for every post, and we track how many likes, shares, and comments we've gotten, so we can kind of see over time what topics resonate or what things we haven't covered in a while that we need to.
Mm-hmm.
So the content trends can be very helpful.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And if you know, like it's college savings month, September for me, like I know when my months are, when my special days are coming up, Employee Appreciation Week or something, I'll
Right,
add
there's
on those.
national celebrations. You can definitely tie into those. Those are
Yeah.
like a ready-made theme
Yeah.
that you can tap into, but don't drive yourself crazy and overthink the content, because chances are you probably already have something that you can leverage.
Absolutely. And commenting and engaging with others is priceless. I think it's absolutely critical. Julie, Meg, Diane, you see me doing it all the time. Genuinely. I mean, I'm not randomly liking people's stuff, but if I know people and I think their content's good, I'm liking it, loving it. I don't know, putting a light bulb on it, saying something about it, sharing it. It goes a long way. I mean, my interview that I got with Sharon Epperson, which is the lead personal finance reporter at CNBC, all came about because of LinkedIn. I commented on a post of hers, not about college planning, not about a financial matter. She's a woman who survived a brain aneurysm, and my grandmother had died of that. I commented something on that. We ended up taking it offline to the chat feature. She asked me about what I do. Before you knew it, I had like a 5-hour interview during the pandemic with the CNBC film crew down here in Brooklyn. They brought their whole team out. So it had nothing to do with me asking her for something, trying to get in her good graces. I simply made a comment about, her courage or how great it is that she's bringing awareness to some of the signs and symptoms of brain aneurysm. She didn't even really recognize that she was having one. And look what it led to. I mean, that was a LinkedIn connection. And I've had interviews with KRON for San Francisco, which is one of the big stations out there. Again, a comment on a LinkedIn post of a reporter there.
No, LinkedIn it used to be that Twitter was really where journalists would surf for subject matter experts for articles. And they still use Twitter, but Twitter's having its own problems. But LinkedIn is now a very important surfing ground for reporters who are looking for experts to quote in articles, to feature in interviews. I have a client who is one of her content pillars is company culture. She writes about it all the time. She does a LinkedIn Live series about it every week. And she was contacted by Toyota. I mean, she's in the management consulting sector. Toyota kind of came out of left field, but they really liked what she had to say about company culture. And they hired her for the Chicago region to give a presentation to all of their managers. So it ended up being a pretty nice gig, and it all happened because of LinkedIn.
I think that's right. I think everybody before, if they don't know you and they're thinking of interacting with you, whether it's as maybe you're a prospect for an employment placement somewhere, or it's a business development lead and they're going to check you out. I think just about everyone these days is going on LinkedIn. They're not getting on the phone with somebody. They're not setting up an interview unless they've somehow checked you out. And that first impression, I think, is critical, because that's the way they're meeting you. And you're not going to have a second chance. You may never have an opportunity to meet that person or go for that job interview or have that media interaction. So I think it's really important to feel at least somewhat comfortable with what you've got out there about yourself and put your best foot forward.
Do it. Yeah. And keep revising it. Again, you don't have to finish it in one draft. Just put it out there and then let it marinate, and then keep updating it and changing it and play around with the new features. And I'm happy to take any of your questions either now or, feel free to email me at julie@wantleverage.com. Diane will send out both of our contact information. And I'll also share that list of hashtags around women's leadership, if that will be helpful to you.
Julie and Patricia, thank you so much for sharing your insights and experience with LinkedIn. I don't know about others on the phone, but I was a very, very late adopter to using LinkedIn. And in fact, without Julie's help, I wouldn't have gotten there. So I'm just going to be honest. Partly because I felt, that was why I asked that question, Patricia, it overwhelmed me immediately. I was fine with kind of getting the basic information up as almost my resume or basic professional information, but then the interactivity and doing anything, I was just like, oh my God, it's one more thing I have to worry about or do. And I didn't understand what it could do for me until I got some help, and and it started doing things for me. And it's been a fascinating learning curve for me. So for whatever that's worth to others, I just share that because I've been a total Luddite in terms of connecting with, well, social media in general, but definitely with LinkedIn. So you know, I'm converted, I guess that's what I would say now. I am definitely converted for whatever that's worth. I just thought I would mention a couple things. Patricia, we're so thrilled that you took time out of your busy schedule to talk about what you've done, because I have to tell you, it's been remarkable what you have achieved by leveraging these platforms. So I just want to, Julie mentioned it 100 times, but I'm going to mention it 101. It's just because we were connected before you really started using the platform and since, and it's just been unbelievable what you've done for yourself, for the brands that you care about or work for, and also for the causes and topics that matter to you. It's just been incredible what you've done. So I just want to salute you for that, and say she's such a great example. So I mean, I'm so thrilled you were able to join us today and share, your experiences and with the platform. As always, we sort of end on a quick action, and Julie actually told us what she recommended we ought to do. So I think what I'm going to do is repeat it. LinkedIn, if you don't have time for anything related to social media in general, or at least that's how you feel, let's make LinkedIn a priority because of its importance in the professional world. As women, as Patricia mentioned, we owe it to ourselves. We really owe it to ourselves to raise our voices, to be seen. I loved that comment, Patricia. It was such a beautiful comment. It's like, it's time for all of us to be seen and to have our voices heard. So I challenge us all to do that. And Julie kind of gave us one easy way, which is just don't try and bite off more than you can chew, and take it step by step and get started. And I love the idea of once a week, just getting on there, setting aside the time to do it, which I know is hard, but that seems doable, I think. And the thing that I love about that is if we all did that, the broader impact that all of us collectively can have because all of our voices rise. So that's just, it gives me chills to even think about as we all kind of embark on taking this to another level. So anyway, that's the challenge. That's the action item I'm going to leave everybody with is let's do it. Let's make the time and the energy. And as Patricia mentioned, Julie is a pro at it, as you can hear by her presentation. But as Patricia mentioned, and even as it's a game changer once you actually engage. So it's a really fascinating, I think you'll have a great outcome. So I want to encourage that. Diane, besides the fact that we have the How Forum coming up, which no one should miss on the dinner is on November 2nd. The forum is on November 3rd. There's been communications going out. I hope you've seen them. We would absolutely love to have you. It is the most amazing event Quorum puts on throughout the year. So please keep that in mind. Join us. We just have an incredible lineup of speakers, and we'll be continuing to provide more information. Diane, is there anything else besides How that I should mention that I haven't mentioned?
October 2nd meeting for those in London. So please don't forget that.
Yeah, there's